excited to have you.
initial pre-introduction.
Right, right. So yeah, she did a great job with the pre-introduction. You want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, kind of your background, um, what brought you here, and
Sure.
what you've been working on lately?
I'm Pranab Saha. I have been working in this field since about 1978. So I've been working for quite some time. We formed or started the company Kalano and Saha in 1986. And although our company works in many different areas of acoustics, I have been involved with vehicle interiors, body structures, and or all the other things in a vehicle that affects the vehicle interior noise. So it has been a good ride for me, an opportunity to learn and share with others some of the things that I know so we can make a better product, which is the vehicle in this case.
Yeah, that's great. I appreciate the background. It's funny. Before I started with SAE a little over a year ago, I never really thought about how much work goes into making the inside of a car more quiet, more quiet. So I'm glad that we get to have this kind of conversation and kind of touching on that. I know you work with the Acoustics Materials Committee, and you guys have been developing the J3130. If you want to give us a little background on what is that
Yeah.
looking to solve? What is the
Thank you,
standard
Shane.
looking
This
to
is a
do?
good question. And I have to give some of the people who are attending today a little bit of background. In a vehicle, there are different types of noises that we hear or feel. They can be grouped into two groups. One is called an airborne noise, and one is called a structure borne noise. Airborne noise is something when I'm talking, the sound, the acoustics energy goes straight through the medium from my mouth to your ear, from a loudspeaker to the receiver. And the other noise is structure borne noise. A body panel vibrates and it carries that energy from one place to the next. And if I cannot stop that along the structure, at some point it's going to become sound and come to my ear. So, to stop the vibration along the structure, we use damping materials. This J3130, which is the proposed standard at this time, it's in the ballot as we speak right now. It is going to help us understand how different damping materials perform when they are tested either in an aluminum bar or other non-ferrous metallic bars or composite bars, as well as very thick steel bars that are used in the construction vehicles or harvesting industry. There is no other test method like that at this time. So we are hoping that this J3130, once it is approved, it will really capture the market in that specific industry.
That's great. So ground it's looking to solve challenges for the ground vehicle industry as a whole. It sounds like. Um, is there any particular kind of industry in ground vehicle sector that should be focusing on the standard or looking
Well,
out for it and
as
using it?
I think that all the electric vehicle OEMs who mostly have aluminum body panels, or in cases where we are looking into having body panels with composite materials to reduce the weight of the body panels, they would be very much impacted by this. They will be very much, um, they would like to use this method. And I do know in the off-highway vehicles, in the harvesting industry, they use this method a lot. So there are lots of opportunities for this. Although I have to say that the method came from uh, testing a lot of steel bars with damping materials. But its main focus and the advantage would be where we are not using steel bars. There is also a similar method for testing laminated glass. Again, the material is non-steel based because here we excite it with a shaker. We mechanically excite the bar and the damping material and measure the performance of that.
Okay. Um, now I was going to ask. So you mentioned acoustical materials, and this is aiming to be a unique standard that you're developing. How would this compare to, say, an acoustical standard from ISO or ECE for noise and vibration control in vehicles?
Currently, the standard that ISO has on a similar testing, it's very constrained, even in the title, for laminated glass of a particular size. That means it can generate data in a given frequency range. However, if the body panel is made out of aluminum or something else, there is no other standard at this point. So the uniqueness of this J3130 would be I can use any other material that cannot be tested with a current test method. I can size a bar to go to a given frequency range of interest. Okay, those are the advantages that I would have in the J3130.
Mhm.
Like in the harvesting industry, for
Now,
example, where they use steel structure, they're about 3 millimeter thick bar or plate. And that is very difficult to excite for making this kind of measurements. But this J3130, where we mechanically excite the bar, would have the potential to do that.
okay, yeah. Then tying into that sort of, now I know in past conversations we've had, some of these ground vehicle standards might not be as well known outside of North America. So for some people in the audience who might not be in the North American sector, what are some of the benefits and challenges of adopting the SAE standards in European and Asian countries where they are not well
One of the
known?
things that we do, Shane, is in our acoustical materials committee, we concentrate on developing standards that is not in existence anywhere else. The two other very common standard organizations that we are referred to would be ASTM and ISO. I know there is Japanese industry standard, there is Chinese standard, there is India standard, but after a while, the test methods are essentially the same to do a particular test. So we have started concentrating on methods that are unique to the mobility industry and it doesn't exist in any other standards. For example, in 1982, the first standard, um, the big standard that came out was sound transmission loss measurement test method, SAEJ 1400. In 1993, we had Oberst bar based damping measurement, SAEJ 1637. Those standards you will not find are comparable standards in ISO or ASTM. In 2015, we came up with a small reverb room sound absorption measurement, SAE 2883. Everybody in the world, in the automotive industry, in the mobility industry, they like to make measurement in a small room using a small size sample, which are comparable to what we use in the mobility industry. But there was no standard for that. They had somebody's test chamber, test method, not a problem. So we all worked together to come up with a standard. Now, SAE is global. We are hoping that we can reach out to the noise and vibration engineers in European OEMs, in Asian OEMs, and share with them the benefits of using these standards. That way, there is some uniformity. You can get results from any lab you want or any supplier you want as long as they follow the standard. So your results should be comparable. Now you can choose a product that's better than another product.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Unity, it sounds like, would cut out a lot of the other work that's being done outside of just you developing the SAE standard for the J3130. It sounds like if we all kind of work together, it'd be able to replicate the same results, just kind of cutting out some of the extra work that's needed to be done if doing it
I
individually.
think so. Thank you.
Now, okay,
No, I
sorry,
said
go
that
ahead.
I think you are correct, and I hope we can do that because in our committee we have people from other parts of the mobility industry also. There are some members from Europe, there are some member from, Asian countries. So if they all can
Mhm.
help develop a good standard, and if they can promote that in their part of the world, that will help.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Sort of leads me into my next question. How did you get involved in standards, and um, why did you want to go that route of helping
There
industry?
must be a reason how I got involved or why I got involved. But sometimes in 1985 or 86, I had a job where an OEM asked me, they are getting all this damping data from different suppliers, and they don't quite understand the results and how they tested, and if I can help them uniform all those and simplify those things better. That's how I got involved. And then in 1987, I joined SAE, and I almost immediately became a member of, in those days, we used to call it Sound and Heat Insulation Committee, which today is Acoustical Materials Committee. And I was
Mhm.
given a task. Remember, I'm a volunteer. I've been given a task if we can come up with a test method for damping measurement. And that's eventually became SAEJ 1637 in 1993. So, and I like it. I enjoyed it. The type of work I do with sound package materials, for me, it helps a lot if I can follow a standard. So SAE Acoustical Materials Committee gave me that opportunity. We worked then closely to have update SAEJ 1400, then eventually to work on the absorption standard SAEJ 2883, and for the last few years we have been working on this other damping standard that's in ballot J3130.
Mhm. Well, sounds like you have a great story to tell, and I did want to ask this question for some of our audience members or viewers that might not know how or why they should get involved. So, do you have any advice for young engineers coming up on how or why they might want to get involved with standards or even
I
publishing their
think,
work?
Shane, this is a very good question. And yes, I have some thoughts and suggestions. Nobody disagrees that we should have a standard. And almost everything we do, whether it's in the mobility industry or some other industry, we follow a procedure, a systematic procedure. If you want to say that a standard, not a problem. Um, my point in the mobility industry is if you are following a standard, number one, if you can become a member of an organization that you think relates close to your work, the type of things you do. And I'm hoping with everybody who is listening to this one, SAE would be the organization. Now, if you are using some standards in your professional job, my suggestion would be you find the appropriate committee in the SAE International Standards Committee and join there so that you can help develop a better standard.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Thank you. Um, Now, we had mentioned, Shay had mentioned your book, and I kind of touched on the authorship piece a little bit ago. Do you have any other works in progress that you're looking to release anytime soon?
Shane, we all have dreams. The point is the dream to make it a reality. And for that, you need to be disciplined. You need to be organized. And if I have the opportunity, yes, I would like to have a publication on the diary of the sound package material companies. That means to talk about some of the sound package material companies, what they were, say, 30 years ago, and how they have changed to be
Mhm.
the company that we know today. I think if that can be done, many people would find that history to be an interesting history. Just like we like cars and we read all the history of cars, how they have evolved.
Mhm. That's a great answer. Well, I hope your dream comes true, and we get to see it come to fruition. Just one last question before we go to the audience. Do you have any other insights you'd like to add about any of the topics we had covered today, or any of the questions that we touched on?
Thank you again. I would like to see how I can help to promote. I only know sound package material standards, the SAE standards, how that can be promoted to the other OEM levels, to the other, European countries, Asian countries, where they use ISO standards. Nothing wrong with the ISO standard, but not all the standards are really the best for the mobility industry. This is what I would like to do. If any of you have any thoughts or suggestions, give me some insights how that can be done. I would like to do that for SAE, for the standards group.
That's great, Pranab. Well, I thank you for that. Now looking at the audience here, looks like we had a question from Brennan. He asked how much buffering of air on the windows affects interior cabin noise, and can this be tested in a similar way as is proposed in
The
J3130? And then could you use laminated glass and mechanically excite it in a similar way as the aluminum or
the
steel?
testing part of the laminated glass and the aluminum or other composites, they can be done essentially the same way. That means you excite mechanically and you measure the input signal and the output signal, you get the response. From there, you get the damping properties. The thing that we have to know is the frequency range of interest so that we can size the bar properly so we can get the right frequency ranges where we want the data to be. That's the simpler question to answer. Now, in terms of the windows, the, if the window is rolled down a little bit, the air that's moving back and forth outside and inside the vehicle, that is the buffeting noise. And that noise is a low frequency sound. It could be disturbing, but the magnitude wise, it's not a high level. But quality wise, it certainly could be a very intrusive noise that we would like to address. And for that, you need to know the vehicle interior geometry. Modeling can be done, simulation can be done to reduce the noise.
That's great. Thank you. If anyone else from the audience does have any questions, feel free to input them now. We did get a comment from Sven. Great idea for the book, Diary of NVH Companies. And then Angie had a great idea saying that maybe Sherry can help you and Sven get a diary series together, because I know he had come on the series.
I know, Sven, I stole the idea from you. I need to recognize that first.
Right. And yeah, so I think that concludes our questions. Pranab, thank you for coming on again today and discussing what you've been working on and what you might look forward to working on here in the future. I like the idea that you said, kind of getting other countries involved with the SAE standards. I think that'd be a great task to tackle. With that being said, if you have any follow or closing comments you'd like to make, please feel free to do so.
Thank you, Shane. The only thing I would like to say, if there are any young, experienced engineers, volunteers in the mobility industry listening to this one, I would strongly recommend, if you can, become a member of SAE, volunteer in the SAE activities. And thank you for the opportunity for me to talk today.
Great. Yeah, thank you. I'm sure we'll be talking again in the future.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.